My name is Michael. I'm a regular office worker, the kind you can find just about anywhere. I live together with my wife, Mia, and my daughter, Emily. Work keeps me very busy, but my salary isn't all that high. But what keeps me going is knowing that when I come home from work every night, I get to see my wife and daughter's smiling faces. I thought this peaceful life of mine would continue forever. One day, I scolded Emily for drawing on the wall with crayons. I was in the living room preparing documents for work, and Mia was in the kitchen washing the dishes, so Emily did it while neither of us were paying attention. Luckily, our wall has a special type of paint on it that makes it easy to clean, but this was the second time Emily drew on the wall. As her father, it's my job to teach her what's right and wrong. I made a scary face and raised my voice. "Hey, Emily! Haven't I told you that you shouldn't draw on the wall? Why won't you do as I say?" I thought I might have gone too far. The sound of crying filled the house. "Daddy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." I looked at Emily, and she was making a face that showed she didn't think it was that serious. She wasn't crying at all. She wasn't the type of kid to fake cry. So who on earth? I looked over at the kitchen. Mia wasn't there. "Mia, where did you go?" I went into the kitchen and saw Mia curled up on the ground. She was holding her head in her hands and mumbling to herself. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me." "Hey, Mia, are you okay?" I called to Mia, but she didn't seem to hear me. I hugged my wife and stroked her back. Emily stared at us both, wide-eyed. Emily looked stunned. She probably didn't know what was going on either. After a little while, Mia calmed down. She seemed to have been delirious. I doubt that she knew what had happened to her either. I discussed what happened with my wife, and we decided to go to a psychologist. They said she probably experienced a flashback of some past trauma. When I hear the word flashback, all I can think of is something that happens in movies. I never imagined that could happen to Mia. After we put Emily to sleep that night, we talked about it. About what happened. Why don't we talk about it? Only if you want to, of course. But at the very least, I want you to know that I'll always be on your side. Mia stayed silent for a while, but then she slowly began to speak. "My mom and dad were very strict." Your mom and dad? "You know that my mom and dad were the CEOs of a big company, right? They treated my brother, sister, and I super strictly. I wondered why. They probably thought that they could raise us to be high class. Everything they thought was necessary to be high class. Piano, violin, ballet. They made us go to classes for all of that, but I wasn't good at any of it. My brother and sister helped me out at first, but eventually they got tired of how unskilled I was. My dad would yell at me over and over because I couldn't do anything well." As she spoke, tears began to fall from Mia's eyes. "He would scream at me over and over. 'Why can't you do as I say?' All I could do was cry." "Mia, it's okay now." I stood still as my wife cried. "This seems to be a deep-rooted problem. Next weekend, I'll go to meet your parents. I'll try to talk to them." The next weekend, I went to my in-laws' house as promised. My in-laws welcomed me happily. I sat in the living room and they brought me coffee. Feeling a bit nervous, I spoke to them about Mia. When I told them what had happened, it seemed like they couldn't believe it. I tried to convince them to talk to Mia about it. "I was just doing it for her sake. It must have been tough on her, but her brother and sister were fine, so I don't think we went overboard. I'm sorry, Michael, but I won't apologize to Mia." My father-in-law was against it, but at least my mother-in-law seemed to be on my side a bit. When I was about to leave, my mother-in-law said to me softly, "Please take care of Mia." Mia took some medicine the psychologist had prescribed her, and she seemed to be doing a bit better. But they say that flashbacks and trauma aren't something that can be cured easily. From that day on, things got worse and worse. Mia began to neglect her relationship with me and to avoid doing housework as well. At some point, she even stopped playing with Emily, so my in-laws took Emily to take care of her. Life got tougher and tougher, and when I'd come home from work, Emily wouldn't be there. Mia was in a small, dark room, dozing off after taking her medicine. When I'd come home, Mia would barely spare me a glance. My bright and happy family was completely falling apart. Every time I'd come home from work, our home looked even more ruined. The word divorce began circling around my head. My family had broken apart, and I didn't understand what to do. My relationship with Mia became so distant, it was as if we were strangers. For everyone's sake, we couldn't keep living like this, but I couldn't come up with a solution. Around this time, something happened that really destroyed our relationship. When I got home one day, my wife was gone. It seemed she had gone out somewhere. She'd been too anxious to leave the house recently, so if she could go on a walk or something, that would be great news, but I was worried. A phone rang. Flustered, I pulled out my phone, but it wasn't the one that was ringing. The phone ringing was my wife's, which was laying on top of the dining table. She forgot her phone? She can be so careless sometimes. I looked at the phone screen. A man I didn't know was calling her. Hello? Huh? Hello? Who is this? Who is this guy asking me who I am? That's my line. What? Asking me who I am so suddenly? Who are you? This is Mia's phone, right? Yes, but Mia isn't here right now. Ah, really? Are you Mia's father? I was supposed to meet Mia today, but she still hasn't come, so I called her because I was getting worried. I'm Mia's husband. What? No way. Is this for real? Hey, what do you mean you're supposed to meet her? Ah, he hung up. What in the world was that? When I put down the phone, I turned around and Mia was standing behind me. Ooh, you were here! Mia looked at me in silence. It seemed she had run here. Her face was covered in sweat. Did you hear the phone call just now? She didn't say anything. Hey, I just want to ask what is going on. That man just now, he said you two were supposed to meet. Mia suddenly broke down into tears. I'm sorry. Hey, what's with this reaction? What is going on? It turns out, Mia was supposed to have an affair. There's an online community for people who are taking prescription drugs for mental health issues. She met that man there, and after hitting it off, they began dating online. At first, she was just playing around for the thrill of it, but as she became more frustrated with our relationship, it became a serious fling. It was only natural they'd meet up and do something in person eventually, but when it finally came time to meet him in person, Mia couldn't bring herself to do it. That's where Mia had just run from. I didn't want to make Mia suffer anymore. I wanted to end this unhealthy relationship of ours. We hadn't sorted out the documents yet, but we decided to divorce. I went to my in-laws' house again. I visited in order to tell them that Mia and I were getting divorced, and to take Emily back home with me. Mia's parents consoled me with somber looks on their faces. That's what happened. I'm really sorry. No, there's no need for you to blame yourself. That is something for you and Mia to decide, so we can't say anything, but I'm worried about Emily. While we were in the living room talking, Emily was in the garden playing around and catching bugs. She ran towards us with her bug catcher. Daddy, look! I caught drone beetles! She opened up her bug catcher and showed us that it was full with beetles. These are for Mommy, and these ones are for Daddy, and these are for Grandma and Grandpa. My father-in-law's face lit up when he looked at Emily. Emily looked up at me again. Daddy, are we going home today? Yes. Yay! I can live with Mommy and Daddy again! Actually, we won't be living with Mommy anymore. Huh? Why? Well, it's a difficult story, so I'll tell you another time. Why don't we head home now? I took Emily's hand in mine, but she snatched it away and began to cry. No! Why can't we live with her? I want to live together with both you and Mommy. But there are some reasons. Is it my fault? Emily began apologizing to me, with huge tears rolling down her face. I'm sorry. It's all because I'm a bad girl. I'm sorry for making you and Mommy fight. It's not your fault, Emily. No matter how much my mother-in-law and I tried to soothe Emily, she continued to apologize to me. Seeing Emily crying with a painful look on her face, my father-in-law suddenly stood up from his chair and hugged her tightly. It's not your fault. It's me. It's all my fault. My father-in-law apologized to Emily as he cried with her. Seeing Emily cry and thinking about how he treated Mia in the past must have been a lot of pressure for him. Michael, we can't make Emily sad like this. I will go and meet Mia. My father-in-law stood up. He, my mother-in-law, Emily, and I all piled into the car and headed to our home. When we got home, we saw Mia fighting with a man I didn't recognize in front of the door. No, let go! Leave me alone! What's wrong? I came all the way here. You want my medicine, don't you? Your husband isn't here either. I will treat you. What are you doing? The man wiped his head around. He was dirty and looked like a thug. His hair was bleached blonde, and he had countless piercings. His eyes couldn't seem to focus, but they looked in my direction spitefully. What is this? Stop! Kevin! I realized that this man was the same one that I spoke on the phone with before. You! Let go of my daughter! My father-in-law's face was bright red, and he jumped forward and punched Kevin. Damn you, old man, that hurt! Kevin seemed to catch my father-in-law in a chokehold, but the next moment, My father-in-law held onto Kevin's arm and threw him onto the floor. Actually, my father-in-law had trained in judo and karate when he was young. He used to get in a lot of fights, so he was super strong. Ouch! Let go! Michael, call the police. I quickly called the police, and when they arrived, they took Kevin away. After everything had calmed down, we all entered the house and began discussing the divorce again. Well... Mia seemed afraid of her father. At that moment, her mother jumped in. Hey, Mia, your dad has something he wants to apologize to you about. Huh? Mia was surprised at what her mother had said. My father-in-law stared at the ground and began speaking slowly. Yeah, I'm sorry about everything I've done until now. That's not enough. My father-in-law's eyes went wide in surprise. He took a deep breath, and in a loud voice, he clearly apologized to Mia. Mia, I'm really sorry about everything I've done until now. I didn't think about your feelings and just forced you to do what I assumed was best. I didn't know how much I had hurt you. I was inconsiderate. Please forgive me. Mia didn't say anything, but her gloomy face brightened up. Afterwards, Mia and I didn't divorce, and our family went back to how it used to be. That man, Kevin, had been giving illegal drugs to his girlfriends in order to force them into being his sex slaves. He was a very dangerous man. Now that he's been caught, he'll probably face a long prison sentence. Reflecting on everything that had happened, I realized that childhood traumas and the way parents treat their children can really influence children negatively. Those are things people hold on to their whole lives. I want to be a considerate and kind father, and I will take good care of my wife. I want to become a good husband for Mia. Thank you for watching. Did you enjoy this video? Please tune in next time and support our channel by subscribing below.